issues. And each town is represented, as is the city of Hudson. And we just discovered this week that villages are eligible to have members on the council as well. So I'd like to let everybody know that. And if you live in the village, think about how we might engage the village in getting active with the EMC. So I'm excited about tonight's training because I haven't been through it, but I've heard awesome things about it. So looking forward to it.
Thanks, Rick. So we're going to turn it over to Don Meltz, Senior Planner with the Columbia County Planning Department. If you see in the chat, there are a couple of links that he provided. So you can view his presentation after tonight and kind of work through it on your own as well. It's available at one of those links. And one other thing to mention, especially if you're taking or looking for a certificate of participation in tonight's training, please make sure your participant name matches the name that you signed up with so that we can get your certificate out to you after tonight's training. And those will go out by email. So I'm going to ask Don to share his screen and take it away.
Okay, let's see. I think it is this one. Can everyone see the little title page I have here on the screen? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Just before we get started, I just want to warn you that I am a proud servant of a basset hound in my house, and I am coming to you from the comfort of my home. And if anybody has ever had a basset hound, some things can set them off and they start barking, and it will take like 5 minutes before she stops. So I just want to warn you beforehand, if there's a knock on the door, there may be quite an interruption. So a couple of things we're going to go over tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about where this data and these web apps came from, how to get to them, where the pages are, where you can access them. But we're going to concentrate mostly on how to use this NRI data viewer. It's an online mapping application, and we're going to specifically go through a test case for a parcel, a large parcel in the town of Stockport, and how I would go about using this online tool in some kind of a planning review situation. Okay, so Columbia County NRI data viewer. I'll say that this is the second presentation in a series. There is a link in the chat box to the first Geo-Data tutorial. The second one, the link is here, and this link will stay the same. We don't have this actually posted on our website yet because I want to go through this presentation first. There may be some slight tweaks to it before we post it on our public-facing website for everyone to access. So you are sort of our guinea pigs here to see how it goes before we actually post it online. So most of the data and the tools you're going to see here, they were developed and posted in early 2019. At that time, the county planning department, we were working to expand our GIS capacity in a variety of ways. At the same time, the planning department was tasked with developing, we're trying to look for a way to share this vast amount of data that we were assembling for the NRA, or NRI, the Natural Resources Inventory. And so those two projects kind of really fit well together, and the results of that synthesis of those two projects is what you're going to see here tonight. Okay. So first, getting to the tools, you can access all the Columbia County Planning Department GIS resources through we have a geospatial page on our planning website, and all the links in this presentation are live. So if you go through and you can click on these, it will take you out to the various pages. So we have a special geospatial page on our planning department website that you can navigate to. We also have a GIS home page, which I think is the easiest link to kind of remember. It's just cc-ny.maps.rgs.com. And that will bring you out to our Columbia County GIS homepage where we post all of our GIS specific data and online maps. So once you're on the GIS homepage, you can scroll down and you can see we post links to our most recently updated data sets, some featured content here. There is a link on here to our the main Geo-Data repository, the portal page, a Geo-Data viewer, the NRI data viewer, and if you scroll down a little bit more, there's a link to the original first tutorial. And once we get this tutorial buttoned up, we will probably post it next to this one here at this spot on the page. So if we click on the link and we go to the actual Geo-Data portal, this is where we post all of our downloadable geographic data, all of our online maps. As you scroll down this page, you'll see there's a link to a GIS data viewer. Scroll down a little bit more. We have links to all of the data sets, the geographic data sets that we have developed and posted online for public access. You can download these individual files if you have the proper software to use them. So if you are familiar with ArcGIS, Desktop, ArcPro, QGIS, those desktop software programs, you can download these individual data sets and actually use them on your own computer. But tonight we're not gonna do that. We have some online tools that we're going to concentrate on. We scroll down a little bit farther on this main page. There are also a couple of, or three, what I call Explorer maps. So these are maps that are sort of pre-populated with different themes. You know, I have one that is set up with a lot of water layers on it, another one with all the different soils layers, and another one that has some topography features pre-populated in the maps. All of these maps are essentially the same. They're all designed the same. They work. I try to keep them in sync so they all work together. They all have the same tools in the same location, and all of them can access all of the data that we post on the county GIS portal. And at the top of the page, just to point out some navigation links here, on the top of the page, we also have some links that will bring you to back to the home page, to the NRI data page, which is where we're going to go next, or back out to the planning department website too, at the top of the page. So on the natural resource inventory page, again, it's laid out very similarly. We have links to the NRI document on the EMC website. We have a link to the NRI data viewer, which is what we're going to concentrate most of our time on tonight. Also, we have, again, links to NRI specific data sets that were assembled by the EMC and by Gretchen and other consultants. I don't know who else assembled all these data sets, but they were provided to the planning department for us to post here online. All right. And really these, I have NRI specific data sets on one page, other GIS data sets on the Geo portal page, but essentially this is behind the scenes, this is all one huge database. So they are all available through any way that you can get to them. So they're really not in separate places. This is all just one huge database of geographic data that we have posted on here. If we click on some of these, we can, there are links to more specific information on the individual data sets. And again, you click on the view download button, there is a way that you can get to them and download the individual data sets, which we'll take a look at now. So if you were going to click on the flood hazards details, the flood hazards layer, you would get to this, what I call the details page, which shows you, it shows you a detailed description of the data, where it came from, what its applicable uses are. A lot of this is gone over again in the first tutorial. If you want to go through that, we go through in great detail what all of these individual buttons do. But for now, I'll just point out this download options. If you click on that, and the side panel opens up, and you can download these layers in a variety of formats. KML, if you're using Google Earth, you can download this as KML, these as KML files. If you're using Esri products, ArcGIS Desktop or Arc Pro, you can download them as file geodatabase files. If you're using QGIS, you can download them as a shape file to use them in the free open source QGIS software. Okay, so this is where you go to actually download the individual files, if that's what you're looking to do. If we click on the NRI data viewer, this is what pops up. So we use the link to the NRI data viewer. It opens up the application with a splash screen and a disclaimer. And I will just point out that one of the statements here is this map and the data it contains is for informational and planning purposes only. It is not a survey product. All right, so always keep in mind that when you're working with GIS data, it is, depending on the source of the data, it's meant to be used at a variety of scales. It's usually not meant to be used on a parcel, at the parcel scale. Okay, it's really not designed, it was not developed to be that accurate and precise. And so always keep in mind that if you see discrepancy between what you see here in the GIS data viewer and something on a map that a surveyor has supplied to your ZBA or planning board, always go by what the surveyor says. Okay, it is always going to be more accurate than what you see on these map viewers that we have posted here. So you click on the continue button, gives you access to the map. This layer list over here on the right shows you which layers are included on the map here. And we can turn these on and off by just clicking the little boxes here. Turn on some water features, some streams, and they appear on the map. You can expand the layer by clicking this little triangle here. This little drop down will give you a little legend type display to show you what those features, see what those features look like on the map, how they're symbolized on the map. Over here in the right-hand corner of the layer list panel is what I call a hamburger menu. I don't know if you've ever heard of it described as that, but a hamburger menu is a menu that has 3 horizontal lines. The top line is the top bun, the bottom line is the bottom bun, and the middle line is the hamburger between the buns. So that's where that name comes from. So if you click on this hamburger menu, you can turn all the layers on, turn them all off, expand all the layers so you can see how they are all symbolized on the map. Or collapse them all. Okay, so we're just going to turn a few on here. Okay. You'll notice that some of the layers on the map are not visible. They're grayed out here. For example, tax parcels. So if we turn this on, they don't display yet until you start to zoom in. And once you get to a certain zoom level, they will appear. Okay, so if we zoom out a little bit, they'll turn off. Zoom in and they will appear. And the reason we do that is just to keep it, tax parcels don't really become useful until you zoom into a certain level. They just, out beyond this, they just look like a mass of lines. So that's why we designed it that way. You can zoom in with the plus and minus keys on the keyboard. You can use your mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And if you hold down the shift key, which I'm going to do now, you hold down the shift key you can click and drag a rectangle if you have a specific area that you want to zoom in on to take a look at. So just hold down the Shift key, click a rectangle, and this will zoom into a particular parcel. And of course, you can just pan around by clicking on, left clicking on the map and scroll around. If you click on this other menu here, and this one is called a Kebab Menu, all right, 3 dots, looks like a shish kebab. So we've got a hamburger menu, we've got a kebab menu here on the right. There are some other options. So we can zoom to a specific layer. We can, let's see if we can turn on the wetlands, the DEC wetlands, and let's see if we can adjust the transparency here. So I have these semi-transparent to start with, but if you want to get a little better look at what's going on underneath some of these layers, we can click on this little kebab menu and we can adjust the transparency over here. Click on transparency and we can lower the transparency so you can still see the layer. You can still see the outline, but we can get a better look at what's underneath that layer if we lighten it up a little bit. So there is some adjustment there. Okay. There's also a link in this kebab menu, show item details. So if we click on this link, again, that'll bring you out to another page that gives you much more information on that individual layer. Okay, so a quick summary of a few sentences, a deeper discussion or description of the layer. If the supplying agency has some terms of use, we've included that in here too. And if for some reason you do, I have these tax parcels to come on at a certain level, but if you do want to see them, that you can adjust the visibility range. There's another option in this kebab menu. So we can set the visibility range and we can drag this little slider over here so that they turn on. Okay, we'll zoom out a little bit more and they turn off because we're out beyond the visibility range. We can drag that slider over a little bit more and they will turn on. So in case I don't have that set, appropriately for your purposes, you can adjust the visibility of some of those layers if you want to zoom out, if you want to view them at a scale that is a little bit smaller, zoomed out a little bit farther. So there is also, if you want to change the base map for some reason, there's a tool up here in the right-hand corner where we can change the base map. I have it set to automatically open as a aerial photo imagery. If you want to say, look at something more like a traditional topo map base layer, we can change that to a topographic map. USGS national map has another a little bit more pleasant looking topographical map base layer that we can use. But for the most part, I usually stick with a satellite imagery or aerial photo image as a base map. Okay, so that's the basic functionality of the NRI data viewer. So now we're going to move on. We're going to look at a location that is literally near and dear to my heart here. It is the Charles Flood Wildlife Management Area. It's in Stockport. It is the entrance to this wildlife management area is exactly 1 mile from my house. So it's within, it is within walking distance. It's easily within biking distance. And so I intend to spend a little bit of time over there this summer. It'll be great. So again, let's look at some basic map functions. Using navigation buttons or scroll wheel on the mouse, we can zoom in. Excuse me. You can zoom into the area. It is in the northwestern corner of the town of Stockport. So here's the Stockport-Stuyvesant border. This is Route 9J. This is the Hudson River, and here's Alvord's Dock Road. So it essentially encompasses the area between 9J, the Hudson River, north of Alvord's Dock, and almost all the way up to the Stockport-Stuyvesant border. So we have the tax parcels here. If we click on a feature on the map here, a little pop-up will come up. And this will happen with all of the features, but for now we're just going to use this for the tax parcels. So we click on the tax parcel here. You can see it gives you a little basic information for this parcel, what the property class is, which is 105, which is actually an agricultural use. It tells you how many acres it is, the location, the town it's in, gives you the parcel number. And at the top, we have this more info button. So if we click on this more info button, this will bring you out to the Columbia County Real Property Tax Service page where you can get some more information on that tax parcel. So the first time you access this, you're going to have to click on the click here for public access link. You're going to have to click the I agree button. Another disclaimer here and continue. And this will bring you to the Columbia County Real Property ImageMate Online page where you can get all kinds of information on this tax parcel. The tax rate, the land assessment, full market value. If we click on owner and sales, we can look at some historical sales of the property, what it sold for, the date it sold. We can click on improvement to see if there's any improvements on the property. Let's see, owner sales, inventory. So this is basically vacant land. So there are no buildings, there are no living area. But you know, if there were sewer or water here, it would say that. If there were a house here, it would tell you how many square feet the house is, the building style, tax info, tell you what the the taxable value of the property is, etc. So to turn some other features on and off, we'll turn on some water features. I'm talking around the streams NHD and the streams water classification. Okay. So you'll notice if there are multiple features at the spot where you click to find out some more info on it, you'll notice at the top of the pop-up here, there's a little 1 of 3. So the spot where I clicked here actually there are 3 layers at that point. So one of them is the streams NHD layer. I click this little arrow to get to the next one. And there's DEC water classification layer showing here. And I click it again and it'll bring up the tax parcel info that we just looked at. All right. So again, information on the streams. The National Hydrography data set is the source of the streams layer. And it tells you what kind of feature it is. And if we go to the DEC water classification layer, which is, you can see this is almost identical. In this case, they are actually identical. The lines are identical. But this one tells you the classification. So this is a Class C stream, unprotected. And the reason we do that, the reason we put both the National Hydrography Dataset streams on the map and the DEC water classification streams on the map, even though they are identical, They actually, you know, these layers were actually developed, coordinated between DEC and the federal government. So the source is really the same. That's why they look identical. You know, you overlay them, you turn one on and off, and you can't tell the difference. They are actually identical lines, but the information from them is slightly different. And the reason we put both of these on the map is because one of them will tell you the name of the stream. In this case, the stream just happens to not have a name. There is no name associated with it. And the DEC layer gives us the DEC classification, but does not include the name of the stream. So that's the reason we keep both of these layers in the map. If we go over here and look at the Kinderhook Creek, click on this layer here, and we have, see, GNIS name is Kinderhook Creek. Excuse me. DEC classification is unprotected. So that's why we put both, even though they are nearly identical features, that's the reason we put both of those layers on the map. If you want to concentrate on just the attributes of one layer, this is a little confusing to you. You can actually go back again in the Kebab menu, and you can turn off the pop-up for, say, the tax parcel layer, or the water features. You can disable the pop-ups over here if that helps you out. Now, if you have like 12 different layers on here and you just want to concentrate on the values of one, you can turn these pop-ups on and off if you like. Just remember to turn them back on when you're done. Okay. So another tool that we're going to take a look at is how to measure things. Again, we'll zoom back into the wildlife management area here, and we're going to look at the measuring tool. It's up here in this row of tools. So let's zoom in to a little area. So we want to measure something on the map here. I want to know how big this little mode area is, just to pick something at random. Click on the measuring tool, and a couple of options here. We can measure the area of something. We can measure a line or a distance of something, or we can measure the coordinates of a place where we click on the map. Okay, so we want to measure the area, this little mowed grass area. We're going to click on the area tool. We're going to choose the values that we want to use. So I want to measure how many square feet this is. And I'm just going to start clicking around here. And you'll see it's drawing a little blue line as I click around. And to end it, you just double click the last spot on the map. So we've got 41,433.4 square feet. That looks like about an acre. So if we want to change that to acres, yes, it's 0.95 acres. If you want to rather know this in square kilometers, we can do that. Oh, excuse me. Square meters. Almost 4,000 square meters. You can do that too. If we want to measure the location of something, let's say we want to find out what the coordinates are for the entrance to this wildlife management area. We're just going to click on the location tool here, click out here in the road, and it puts a little pin. And you see the top line here. These numbers are going to change as I scroll around. So these are the coordinates of the cursor as you're scrolling around. But the second line here are the coordinates of where I clicked on the map. So say you want to share that with someone else, I can just kind of select those coordinates, right click, and I can search Google for those coordinates, click on maps, and it will show me those coordinates on Google Maps. So just one little neat trick that you can do with this in case you want to, and if you're familiar with Google Maps, you can save these maps in your own list of you can make a My Map, a set of My Maps if you have a Google account, and save these, send them to someone else if you want to share a location for some reason, and clear. So that's the measuring tool. A few other possible uses if you want to figure out what's the road frontage of a certain parcel, distance between features, distance along a route. You want to find out what the building footprint of a structure is, or yard setbacks. You want to see if a proposed building is going to meet the setback requirements of your zoning. But again, and this is why I kind of harp on this a little bit, but keep in mind that all of these features are not survey grade, so they are estimates. These property lines are not exact. All right, you can see right here that this property line is probably more likely to follow this hedgerow here than where it is shown on the map. There's always a little bit of discrepancy. Even the aerial photos are off by a little bit. I believe most modern aerial photos are within 4 or 8 feet of being accurate. So always keep that in mind. So you can get an estimate of whether something is going to be within a setback requirement or not. But again, always rely on the information that an applicant surveyor is going to supply on an actual subdivision map or site plan review map. Additional NRI layers. As I mentioned before, all of those NRI layers that we have posted online on the Geo-Data portal can be added to this map if you want. So let's zoom out to this parcel again. And the way we do that is I'm going to turn some of these other layers off first. Is this other tool at the top left corner, we have this add data button. If you hover over it, it says add data. We're going to click on that button and the add data box pops up. And you'll notice we have 63 layers that we can add to this map. Now, a few of them are already shown here, but in total we have 63 layers on the county Geo-Data portal that are available to the public that you can add to any one of the maps that we have posted on our GIS website. You can search for something. If you're looking for something specific, you can type something in the search box. You can sort them by relevance, title, or date are usually the most useful things to sort these by. So if you're looking for newer layers, you can sort by date, and the newer layers will pop up at the top of the box. Or if you're looking for something in alphabetical order, obviously you can sort these by the title, either alphabetically or reverse alphabetically. And you also see that this window is limited to showing 30 layers at a time. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you're not seeing all the layers here. You're only showing the first 30 layers available. And there is another set of arrows down here. You can see we're showing 1 to 63. If you click on this next arrow, it'll show the second set of 30 layers that you can scroll through and look at. And again, it'll show the last 3 layers in that set of 63. So as an example for this case study, we're going to type in farmland in the search box. We're going to add the soils farmland layer to our map. I'm just going to click the little add button here. You see it just automatically adds it to the map. Let's look for forest. Click the search button. And we have I'm going to add the Hudson Valley Forest Index Patches layer to our map. Same for open. We're looking for open fields. See what we've got here. We have a couple. We have one that's described as large meadows, another is open habitat. Let's see. And the large meadow one here. And again, we're looking for some soils. Search. We'll look for, I think, some hydric soils to add to our map. So that adds them all, and they're all turned on by default. Of course, we can turn these on and off at will. So if we just want to look at one at a time, we just want to look at the farmland soils, we can look at those. Again, click on the location, use the little arrow button, and we can look at the attributes for this soils layer. This is Kingsbury and Rhinebeck soils, 0 to 3% sloped, considered farmland of statewide importance. We have some prime farmland up here. The darker browns are prime farmland. Hudson and Virgin soils, all areas are prime farmland. So we can zoom in, pan around, see where the better soils are on this property. If that's what we're looking for. We can adjust again adjust the layer order here. So if we have 2 layers that we want to look at, so we want to look at the forest and the soils here at the same time, but we want to visualize the soils on top. Again, on this Kebab menu over here, we can use this Kebab menu, and you can move that layer up. You can move it up or move it down. I'm going to move it up, and now it's visualized on top of that forest layer. So, and yes.
I just wanted to let you know about 10 minutes more.
Okay. Yep.
For your pacing.
Sure. And I wasn't sure how long this was going to take, but it's let me see what else I want to go over with here. All right. So that's how we can add and adjust the layers within the map. There is also a select tool here. So if you want to click on the select tool, there are some options here to select different features. We'll highlight them in the map, and this little tab down here will open up an attribute table that will show you the attributes of those selected layers. This is another way that you view the attributes for various layers on your map. Topography. I don't want to skip over this one too, so we will. I like looking at the topography here, so I'm going to turn the soils off. Back and sort by relevance. One of my favorite layers to add to all of these maps is the hillshade layer. I'm going to add this. This was a layer developed using LiDAR data, really high resolution data, really great for looking at topography. And one of the reasons I love looking at this particular parcel is this used to be the Empire Brickyard. So you can turn this on. We can look at the aerial photo here, and we can kind of make out where, you know, this looks like it was the former mining area of the Brickyard. If you're familiar with this parcel, you might be able to pick that out, but it's, you know, kind of hard to see through the woods. So we have this LiDAR data, very high resolution LiDAR data that we can turn on, and we can zoom in here. We can actually see the terraces under the tree canopy where all that mining was performed on this property. So these are all the terraces that were mined into the hillside, where they mined out all the clay and clay and sand mix to make the bricks. You can see the old foundations of the buildings down here by the river, the old slip here where the barge would come in to take the bricks out. There's some old building foundation holes here. So just a great, I think just a great tool to use when you're looking at a particular parcel. We're going to also, we have historic aerial photos that we can add. So I'm going to search on orthophoto. Click search, and we have a variety of aerial photos here that we can add to our map. Let's see. Add. And again, we can adjust the order that these are in. Move this one up. 2001. Move up. 410. So that looks an appropriate area. So just take a look at a particular spot here. We can see the land change over time here. So we've got some open fields here. This used to be pretty good farmland. It had prime farmland soils. If we turn off the 2001 aerial photos and just look at 2004, not too much change yet. Look at 2010, we can see some of the trees starting to grow up here. Turn this off again, you can see between 2010 and 2014, the trees are getting much thicker. Turn this off 2014 to look at the 2017 aerials, and you can see it's really, really grown up. And this spot here in particular, you can see is really kind of changed over time. So kind of barren here, starts going up, really filled in. And another thing you can do here is we can adjust the transparency of these aerial photos over top of the hillshade. So we're going to adjust the transparency down to like about a 50% or so. So we can actually see those hillshades through the aerial photo. And I think this is pretty useful. So you can kind of see what's the relationship between the land cover and the topography here. You can see that some of these evergreen trees are growing on the flatter spots at the top of the ravines. The ravines are probably have more of the hardwoods in them. You can see that this area over here that was former farmland is getting overgrown with evergreen trees, whereas the other area here that was closer to the river was not as disturbed, still has some hardwoods growing on it. So just really cool to look at some of these layers together in that way. I will say that you can add as many layers to this map as you want, but I highly recommend that you can add them all at once, but only turn on one or two at a time. It gets very confusing. I really think it's most useful if you're only looking at these layers one or two at a time, comparing one layer with another, see where they overlap or where they're adjacent to each other or intersect with each other. But if you try to turn them all on at once, you're just going to make a confused mess of your map. We have a few more minutes, Christine, because I really want to show this one. Okay, I'm sorry. You can also
apologize.
Excuse me,
Go ahead
Christine.
and show it.
Okay, you can also add your own data. So this is something I haven't shown before. So if you have a data set that's not on here, but you have it, it can be either like if you have some GPS points that you've gathered, if you have a shapefile from a applicant, if you can get them to give you a shapefile or some kind of layer that can be added to this map, we can go to this again at the Add Data button, and I have a link to this file if you want to try it on your own. There's a Brickyard Hike GPX file that you can download. But on the Add Data box, you can go to the File tab over here, and you can upload shapefiles, KMLs, GPX. I'm going to browse to my GPX file that I believe, Brickyard Hike GPX. So open it up, adds it to the map, and I have, here's a little hike that I took the other day, okay? Started out the entrance point, walked around, had my GPS turned on, and so, this is something that if you've gone out in the field, gathered a few points that you want to look at, you're not sure exactly where they are, you can add some GPS points to the map if you want. I will tell you that the files that you upload like this, the county does not have access to them. So don't get worried about us, having access to any kind of your personal information. This is just on this map, and as far as I know, they go away once you close the map up. They are not safe. The county does not have any access to any of these layers that you upload onto this NRI viewer in this way.
There's a question in the chat about, in the time that you've been using this tool, has the resolution of the base map improved, and do you expect future improvement?
Yes. Well, not since I've only been using this for I've only developed this within the last couple of years. So the resolution of the base maps is pretty good. All right. Let me turn this some of these features off here so you can get a better view. The default base maps, you can zoom in, and this is the limit of their resolution from Esri. Okay, this is what is available through our ArcGIS online system. The base maps that they supply through this base maps layer, base map gallery. Right. What I've done is I've added the New York State orthophoto program maps here. So if we go in, let's search again for orthophoto. And I add I'm sorry. I don't want ArcGIS Online. Oh, I think I have to go to a different map here. I'm sorry. Let's go back to this one. So the most recent aerial photos from New York State are the 2017 aerial photos. And Columbia County is due for an update this year. I believe sometime sometime this year, we are going to have 2000, I don't know if it's 2020 or 2021 aerial photos available to us. But this is really fairly high resolution. So you can see the difference. So this is the default Esri satellite base map aerial photos. I believe these are from National Agricultural Imagery Program. It's a federal program. And we turn on the New York State ortho photos, which are a higher resolution. You can see the difference.
Good seeing the scale, Bory. I got to bug out. I'm going to my granddaughter's graduation party.
Okay. Good luck to you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. John, do you want to take a couple minutes if people have questions?
Sure, sure. There is a lot more to this presentation. And again, this is going to be posted online. I also explained how you can go through and print the maps or share them. I think that's about the only thing I haven't really gone through, but yeah.
All right, I see a question about the hillshade layer. Are the darker areas, lower topography, actually in shade? What time of day is being represented, if that's the case?
Yeah, the hillshade is sort of a false shadowing effect from the sunlight. So it's, yeah, the color doesn't represent elevation. It's more representative of slope probably, and slope in a certain direction. So it gives you that sort of false shadowing effect where higher elevations will cast a shadow into the lower valleys based on whatever direction the sun is shining in. And what was the other question? Rest of the question?
What time of day is being represented? Is the sun in the north?
Yeah, yes. Generally, it is a false shadowing effect. Normally they put the sun, I believe, like a 315 degree angle, from north, and like a 45 degree height above horizon. Because if you do, the thing is, if you're using desktop software, you can adjust that on the desktop. So you can make the sun shine from any direction in any angle you want if you want to model the shadows for a certain purpose. But the problem with that is if you do that, like if you have the sun shining from the south, it's like an optical illusion, and it actually makes mountains look like valleys and valleys look like mountains. Your eye has a lot of trouble compensating for that. So by default, typically these hillshades are modeled using a particular location of the sun. I think it's usually like 315 degrees around the compass and 45 degrees above the horizon.
And I see that Larry Brody put that the Columbia County ortho photos, new ones, were taken in April 2021, and about 6 months for processing and posting of those.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Yes, I thought it was 2021, but I wasn't sure. Thank you for that.
I wanted to mention, and we can take another question perhaps, but I want to mention I put in the chat a link to an evaluation form, and just to ask, your feedback is really important and helpful to us as we plan programs. So if you could take a couple minutes to fill out an evaluation related to tonight's and/or Monday nights, if you attended Monday night's training as well. And we can also send that out by email. So if you have time later, but not this evening to do that, we'd really appreciate that. And in our last couple minutes, is there maybe one more question? I think I may have unmuted, so that's great.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure, Dylan.
Hi, John. Thank you. This is so great. I use GIS a bit, and I find this so much more accessible and useful than using GIS desktop, at least for a lot of people. So thank you. And I'm curious, how far away do you think we are from GIS really becoming something that's done on the cloud and we're not using desktop. You know, I'd love to be able to export like that conservation area. What if I just wanted to highlight that, get rid of all the other parcels, maybe clip the hillshade to that? How far away are we from being able to do that on the cloud?
Well, a lot of that capability is available if you have an ArcGIS online organizational account. All right, so a lot of those tools are available. We can't, and technically I could incorporate a lot of that into some of these online maps, but we get into the problem where it actually starts, it costs us money, all right? And there are some expenses involved in that. It's not very expensive, to be honest with you. I think this is probably, this is the best bang for the buck that Esri puts out. I mean, it costs $500 a year for any single organization that wants to buy a single-use license to use this ArcGIS online system. All those tools that you described, I believe, are available in the online system. You can clip things and you can edit data. You can do some analysis, not as much as you can with the desktop software, but new tools are being added all the time. So it's it's a $500 entry point. They charge you credit. You get a certain number of credits for use of the software and they charge you credits for storing the data online. And for some of those tools, they charge you every time that you use that tool to perform some analysis. So
Don, we're
yes.
just about at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Can you stop sharing your screen for a second? And
Sure
I saw Mal Mort raised his hand. So I'd like to share a quick announcement of a webinar coming up in June that is also related to natural resource inventories. And June's topic is something, it's looking at NRIs and how they can support some of the actions that are part of the Climate Smart Communities program. And Libby Zamaitis of the Hudson River Estuary Program will be the main speaker in that event, and we'll have more details to make available to folks. Right now, we just kind of have a little announcement slide. But then if Mal, you want to ask your question before we wrap up, and just thanks Don for your time, and thanks to everybody for coming out and joining us for these events this week.
Yeah, Don, if a town does an NRI, would the maps of parcels, tax parcels, would those be more accurate on the macro level than what we're seeing here? As you talked about on the micro level, I mean, would they be more accurate?
No, these tax parcel boundaries they come right from the county real property tax service.
So they wouldn't be any different.
No,
okay.
That is, I mean, they are pretty close, okay, but they
right.
are what you call survey grade, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
And then Don, I'm guessing you don't disappear after tonight. If people get into trying out working with this system and they want to reach out to you at the county planning office, you will either pick up the phone or reply to their email or.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's what I'm there for. Sure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody again for joining us, and please do take a minute to fill out the evaluation if you can. We are going to share recordings of both Monday night and tonight. And then as Don said at the beginning, he has this tutorial that you can scroll through step by step what he walked us through this evening. So that's a really great resource as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yep.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Thanks. We're good, Christine?
I think so. There are a couple people still on, but I think maybe they're doing the evaluation or clicked over to something else. But yeah, I think it's so terrific how you have the scroll through approach that people can look at later and just kind of almost word for word with instructions about how to do what you showed tonight. That's so useful.
Because I was a little concerned, and it did go longer than I thought, so I could have used another half hour.
Really?